Okay, everyone, I wanted to spend a couple minutes going over the inequalities, comparatives, and superlatives with you. That can be a little bit tricky, so I wanted to give you some examples that you could look at. So hopefully you're seeing my screen. And starting out with using inequalities and all this with adjectives. With your adjectives, um, you're going to use what you saw earlier: the más que, the menos que, and the tan como. So those are your three. Más que. Well, I didn't want it to do that, but that's okay. Menos que and tan como. I leave those dots in the middle because that's where you're going to put the adjective that you're comparing. So an example of this might be Antonio es más alto que Pedro. And basically what that means is Antonio is, it looks like we're saying more tall than, okay? But in English, we don't say that. So you make it sound correct when you translate it into English. So Antonio is taller than Pedro. You just don't put an ER on the end in Spanish. You put the más que. Also remember that alto, which is the adjective, has to agree with the noun at the front of the sentence. In this case, it's Antonio. So it's okay. You got masculine, you got one guy, so it's masculine singular, so you just use alto. Okay. If instead of Antonio, I use a girl's name and I say Elena es menos simpática que Rosa. Okay. So in this situation, Elena is less nice. She's not as nice as Rosa is. We don't use menos very often when you do this, but when you do, in English we would say she is less nice, or she's not as nice as Rosa. Notice since Elena is in the front, I used an A at the end and I said simpática. Okay, have to do that. If there's more than one girl, you would have said simpáticas. Doesn't matter that it's Rosa here at the end. If we wanted to say that Elena was nicer than Antonio, the sentence would not change except for putting Antonio's name at the end. Simpática agrees with the person in the front. Okay, and you don't have to use people. You could use something like this one. Zaxby's es tan delicioso como Chick-fil-A. Okay, Zaxby's is as delicious as Chick-fil-A. Okay, so you're comparing it, they're the same, they're equal. Okay, in this situation, delicioso would still agree with the word at the front, you know. So Zaxby's is a restaurante, which is masculine, so you're going to say delicioso. Okay, so that's with adjectives. That should be pretty simple, hopefully pretty simple. You've seen this from Spanish 1, hopefully, and this is just a review. Let me move up and talk a little bit about nouns. If you're going to use nouns, same deal. Más que. Okay, give me a minute. There we go. Más que, menos. Oh, okay. But now instead of tan como, you're going to use tanto or tanta or tantos or tantas como. You're going to make that agree with whatever it is that you have more or less of. We'll do that one in a second. Here's your first example. Okay. So yo tengo más zapatos que tú. I have more shoes than you have. Okay, nothing, no big deal there. Zapatos, más doesn't have to agree with anything. You could use verbs here. Me gusta nadar más que correr. I like to swim, nadar, I like to swim more than running, to run. So you can put them back to back like that and say more than, you know, I like to do this more than that. And that's perfectly fine in Spanish, just like you do in English. Now, if you, let me see here. If you want to say, yo tengo tantos perros como mi amigo. I have as many dogs as my friend. Okay, so dogs, more than one, and it's masculine. There's your OS at the end. So I had to use tantos to agree with it. So there's your agreement right there. All right. You can also use tanto como by itself, and you could say, me encanta el pollo tanto como el bistec. I like chicken as much as steak. Okay, you can use them together like that and say chicken as much as, and you can put it together. And you don't have to worry about it agreeing because there's nothing in the middle for it to agree with. Okay, so there's a few there with that, and then there's a few other little things I want to show you. Let me go to another page. Okay, when you say más que or menos que, or well, we're not talking about tanto como here, but if you follow that with a number, you have to change the que to de. Okay, so one example of this would be ella compra más de dos tacos. She buys more than 2 tacos. Okay, since there's the number 2, dos, right there, I cannot use que here. I've got to use de. So whenever you see a number following it directly, make sure you change que to de. Okay, and that's one thing. And then the other thing you need to remember is there are 4 irregulars that you have to be aware of. Okay, there is mayor, menor, mejor, and peor. Mayor is older, menor is younger, mejor is better, peor is worse. So if you want to say, yo soy mayor que mi hermano. I am older than my brother. Okay. Yo tengo una hermana menor. I have a younger sister. Okay, I can use menor for that. The reason I'm going fast, I don't have a lot of time with this recording thing. Ella es mi mejor amiga. Oops, excuse me. She is my best friend. Mejor, best friend. Los tacos de Taco Bell son peores que los tacos de Mazatlan. The tacos at Taco Bell are worse than the tacos at Mazatlan. Okay, so you use those 4. All right, we're going to do another video to talk about superlatives. So if you'll click on the next one, we'll talk about superlatives.